Okay, I'm just cleaning out the sump, just rinsing it through. Gasket was really knackered, all chewed up. I believe there's something missing. Looks like there's fixings there, and it looks like there's some kind of, I think before when I've seen pictures I've seen like a mesh grill or something that sort of catches all the crap and doesn't let it fall to the bottom where that sits. Could be wrong, but I reckon there's something missing. So if that catches all the crap so it doesn't go to the bottom, so it can't, probably ought to try and put something in there, or I mean, it's just a fine mesh. I suppose I could make something and screw it down, but I doubt if you're going to be able to get the proper thing. But we've got to clean the sump up. Mine has got, see that mounting there? So you've got your oil filler, well, your return, sort of breather return that comes down from the top. Some of them have got this blank here, or some have got the unity, like a level sensor. Mine's got it. Where has it gone? Yeah, I took it out so it sort of sits like that. So obviously when the oil level goes up, the float goes up. When the oil level's down, the wire was broke on it. So like I said before, I don't know, obviously it should be soldered on there. I don't know whether it would have a light on saying it needed oil all the time, which way around it works. I would imagine when it earths, it tells you it's got oil in. According to my meter, when the float is at the top, there's no continuity between the housing, which is bolted to the sump, and the wire. When it's at the bottom there is. Don't quite know, that sleeve that it runs up and down here looks like it's insulated, but I can't see what's inside here. But when it's up at the top, there's 0.2 or whatever, I don't read on it, but there's resistance there. When it's at the bottom, this wire is contacted to the mounting to the sump. So, and then that wire obviously should go to that pin which goes into the loom. So I would imagine when it's at the bottom, it would give an earth, because they normally earth switches, because they don't have big live wires running for no reason. So it earths the light, and then the light comes on. And when it lifts up, there's resistance, and it's not got an earth, and the light goes off. I'm assuming that's how it works. I'm going to resolder this wire on here and put it back together. If it doesn't work or it gives me false readings, I'll just disconnect it and earth the wire out, or do whatever I need to do to the wire to make the light go off. But I didn't notice any lights on, but I didn't have it running for that long because it was chucking so much oil out. I'm sick of cleaning it up. So yeah, that's oil level sensor. So like I say, at the top there's no connection between the wire that comes off out the bottom, which should go to this pin, to the casing. When it's at the bottom, this wire, that pin, is earthed to the body. So I imagine it's like an earth switch. Could be a live switch or whatever, but I'm assuming it's an earth switch. So yeah, apparently they don't all have them. It's a proper video made in Germany. I'll show you the part number if you like. If that means anything. Turn it around the other way. 928 008 30102. Looks like it. There should be like a boot on here that pushes down, but it was well crusty. It sort of fell apart when I took it off, but it's very similar to like a boot on a dynamo live on a Volkswagen. So I should probably modify some sort of boot, put something on it because I don't want it corroding. But yeah, so I may as well put it back in. I'm assuming I'm not going to be able to get a gasket for the underneath of it. I might try, but it might come in the gasket set, I doubt it. Yeah, you can see the solder there where the wire's broken off. But if not, I'll just make my own gasket and put some sealer on it. I'm sure I'll be fine. So yeah, tonight my job on the internet, googling 9 to 8 bits, is what should be there I'm pretty sure it should have a mesh or something. There's definitely some kind of those screws, and I've not taken anything off the sump. I've just took the sump off. Oil pickup pipe obviously stays on the engine, so I've not took anything off. So I'm assuming there's something missing. But I'm going to clean all this up. I'm still waiting for the machining bits. My head gasket set has come from whoever ordered it in Germany. I thought it was a bit cheaper, but in hindsight I've got to pay 80 odd quid customs duty. I suppose it's thanks to Brexit or whatever. But so I spoke to the vendor and said, well, where's my item? And he says, oh, it said it was untracked. He gave me the tracking information, and it was tracked. He could obviously track it, and it said it was at the local depot waiting for customs to be paid, and they were going to write me a letter and whatever. But why they don't, I don't know. Maybe I didn't read the small print, but a lot of the advert was in German, so I just gave him the reg, and he said, yeah, that's the right gasket set. So I've had to pay the 80 odd quid, so I should have all the head gasket set and all the gasket set, and then I'll see whether it contains that. I bet it doesn't. It's got the sump gasket in, so I can clean all this up. The block is all sort of cleaned off, standing up there. I bought a cheap jet wash just because I didn't want to parts wash the board, so I bought a cheap jet wash and jet washed it all off, all the holes and everything. Obviously I'm going to clean everything out later. I am going to take that off, these unions here, and just blow all that out and clean all that out, but I won't do that until it's going together. The big ends are here. So once I've done the sump, it's washed the other bits off. I think I've heard people say something about these big end bearings can be tight sometimes or something, because Porsche made them, like not handmade them, but they did in specific different sizes. So what I am going to do, before I put the crank back in, I'm going to lie the crank down and put all the rods on in the right order with the bearings, and torque them up, not torque them up 100%, but torque them up enough so I know that they're nice and free on the crank. Because the way I'm going to put it together with the pistons, I'm going to leave the rods with the pistons on and put them back on as I took them off. If one of the rods is a bit tight or a bit stiff, I'm not going to know, particularly turning it over. If it's got a tight spot, I'm not going to know. Because worst scenario, if I found that they were all tight and the bearings, I can't get the right bearings and there's nothing wrong with the crank, I could always, the big end bearings were fine. There's no real marks on them at all. I could reuse them. Don't want to, but they say standard, and the ones I took off say standard, so they shouldn't be far wrong. Apparently it's something to do with sometimes they're a bit tight, but apparently if your crank's a little bit worn, it takes up the bit of wear, and then that's why they make it. I don't know. You read so much stuff on the internet, but I am going to try the rods. I'm definitely going to try all the rods on the crank before I put it all in the block. I do that on my air-cooled stuff as well, generally, because sometimes you get the odd one where you put it all together, and it's one of the cranks. There's either something on the crank or crap on the crank, or one of the bearing seats isn't right and it's tight. And best to sort it now if there's any problem like that, or one of the journals on the big ends is not right. My guy is meant to be checking the crank. If he comes back and says, oh, your big ends are well out of spec and they need machining as well, then I'll be selling a set of standard bearings. But hopefully not. I don't really want to have the, I don't even think the mains possibly are going to need it, but he'll know the wear limit on the crank and whether it's worth machining or not. I trust him 100% with that kind of stuff. As a nice old guy who's been doing it a long time. So that's the stage so far. So yeah. So we'll see what that level sensor does when it's all back together. If it just puts the light on and doesn't do what it's meant to do, then it'll be disconnected, and I'll do whatever I need to do to the wire to make the light go off. But if it works, I may as well have it working. But I would imagine by the time that comes on and tells you you've got no oil, your engine's probably knackered anyway. Like the oil pressure warning lights on most cars, once it's on, unless you're very lucky, you've knackered it anyway. So that's probably why they don't all have level sensors on. Right, okay. Video a bit more when I've washed some more bits off, possibly. Alternator's got to come off. And like I say, then I'm going to be onto cleaning up the engine bay. So I'll probably video the engine bay before I clean it and after I've cleaned it, just so you can sort of see what it comes up like. I've not bought a rad yet. There's a guy on YouTube who does a lot of videos. Is 9 to 8. I think he bought one of the Radtech ones, which are about 500 quid, which are like double the price of the cheaper aluminium ones, but they all seem to be made in China, and I'm not so sure about them. I put a cheap, a 200 quid one on my Mark 1, a dual core one, and it was perfectly fine. It did make a big difference in the cooling as well, but I just, with this having oil cooler and transmission cooler in as well, there's a lot more stuff. It's a bit more technical than just a normal water radiator. So if there's something not quite right, it starts intermixing somehow, and I don't know, I could be thinking my engine's no good again, and it's not. So apparently these Radtech ones, they look a lot nicer. The welding looks proper, nice sort of aluminium welding, whereas some of the Chinese ones, they just look like, like someone's done it blindfolded. You say they pressure test them, but do they really? But yeah, I might invest in one of them Radtech ones. Probably sell the original one. Somebody might want to repair it or recore it or whatever. But like I say, there's no sign of anything in the transmission. Obviously there was contamination in the water, but I'm pretty sure that was to the head gasket. The rad wasn't leaking. So it'll probably be of use to somebody, but I won't be taking a risk on that. I don't want to start it up and think there's something wrong with the engine and there's not, and it's the bloody rad. But yeah, so it's probably going to smoke like a chimney still when I put it back together, because the exhaust was so full of oil, and I mean just literally running out. I've washed it in my parts washer and stood it up and got as much out as I can. I'm probably going to get some soapy kind of cleaner and put that through it with my jet wash, give it a good jet wash up, and then leave it outside stood up, get as much out as I can, and then hopefully it'll just smoke a bit until it's warmed up and burn it off a bit, and then it'll be okay. Because if it's smoking for days and days, I'm gonna think there's something else wrong, and it's But I'm not buying a new exhaust, because not at this stage, because they're a fortune. That's a job for another day. What I'll probably do is put the exhaust on that's on and use that for a bit, and then when I've got a bit of cash together, I will probably get one in baller exhausts, because they sound really nice, and some of them racing headers. And then I'll probably sell the original one, because there's not really anything wrong. It's been repaired. I had bits of pipe added into it, but it wasn't blowing or anything, and it's pretty all there, and it would do for somebody if they had no exhaust or a really knackered exhaust to put on just to get them by. So probably worth a little bit. The side back box looks pretty good, which I know they're very expensive. So anything I can claw back with any second-hand parts I'm selling, offsets what I've spent on the car, because it's, you don't expect it to be cheap. But if the job's worth doing on an engine, really, I want to do as best a job I can, really, within my limits of my finances, obviously. I saw on YouTube there's somebody who advertising an engine they built, and it was 11 grand. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't worth 11 grand and they hadn't spent 11 grand worth of labour and parts doing it, but, I'm not really going to be spending the value of the car on an engine. I know some people do. I think if it got that bad and I couldn't get a good second-hand one, I'd be tempted to do something. Some of these people put the 6-cylinder diesel BMW engines in, which are bloody brilliant engines. I think a 3 litre, 335s or 3 litre, straight 6. Really good plodding fast engines, but really sturdy, and diesel economy as well. So that might be the way to go, but obviously we don't want to do that at this stage. We want to put it back to how it originally was. Right, that's it for now. We'll chat again when I'm doing the engine bay and I've washed a few more bits off.